Now we're going to take a look at single post pages. A single post page is a dedicated web page on a WordPress site that displays the full content of a blog post. This allows visitors to read the entire article independently from the blog archive page. Essentially, it's the page you land on when you click on a specific post title or the featured image so that you can visit that page and read the details. Let's take a look at how we can set up and customize our single post pages. We've just spent some time customizing our archive page. Keep in mind that this typically will display on your homepage unless you assign it to a specific page. We've assigned it to our blog page, and this now shows all of my various posts, and the user will be able to click on these and view detailed information about that post. So far, our detailed information is not visually that exciting. We pretty much just have text, and then we have the ability for any user to add a comment. What we're going to do is we're going to look into how we can customize this and make these pages a little bit more interesting. Let's return to our dashboard, and we are going to go to all of our posts. If I go ahead and click edit on my first post, you can see that so far we just have the text-based information. In the front end section of our website, our single post pages look like this. Let's look into how we can make these pages a little bit more dynamic and add some more visual elements to our posts. We could, of course, add images into the post, just like we do with pages, but we are going to repurpose our featured image so that it shows up on our posts. In order to do this, we are going to go into our customizer. So I'll go to Appearance, Customize, and we're going to be working under the blog section and specifically under the single post section. Keep in mind that when you are editing these different areas of your customizer, it's always a good idea to be on that page so you can actually see what the changes are going to do. So here is one of my post pages, and if I start to modify these areas, we will see them update specifically. The first thing that we have right here is we can turn on or off the post title. I think that this is relevant to have on, so I'm going to leave it on. If you click this little arrow right here, you will be able to control what elements are going to show. So far we are seeing the title and we're seeing some of the metadata. And if we open this up, we can actually control how the metadata appears. So by default, it's showing the name of the author and the date, and it's separated by a slash. If I want to use a different sort of separator, I can just choose one of these alternate options. We also have the ability to turn on breadcrumbing. This will show the user what page they came from and provide more of a breadcrumb navigation. We can display the excerpt, which doesn't really seem to be relevant since we're already on the page, but that is an option. And we can turn on the featured image. The featured image will display in a couple of different ways. So far, we are using the banner layout. If we change to layout 2, you can see that the way in which the featured image is handled is slightly different. So depending on your preference, you can choose how you want this to look. In addition to the featured image, you can turn on taxonomies. I will be leaving these off. Under the metadata, which remember we altered here, you can choose if you want to show the author, the date, comments, which just gives the user a link to leave a comment, and taxonomies. These would be things like categories and tags, and you can select what type of taxonomies you want to show. I generally feel that these two elements are not necessary, so I'm going to leave them off for my particular post. You can also control the horizontal alignment of the various elements, as well as the vertical alignment. Let's just go ahead and click Publish with these minor changes and take a look at what this is going to do to the front end portion of our website. This will make your post feel a little bit more robust. Now, it is worth mentioning that the size of this image is going to be determined by the size of the container and whatever style you're using. My images were only 600 pixels by default, so if this is something that I planned on doing, I would probably want to prepare my images to be a little bit larger so that their resolution and quality looked a little bit better. We can also go into the design area and we'll be able to control some of these things. So we can control the banner minimum height, which is going to depend on the aspect ratio of the images that you have inserted into your post. We can also control the inner element spacing. So this is going to control how far away these elements are spaced out. And then we can control things like the background color. If I wanted this to be white instead of gray, I could go ahead and get rid of that. I could control the color of the title. Let's change this to our darker green. I'll leave my text color because I think that this works. You can change your link color if you want and the link hover color. And then we have specific elements that we can change, like our title font. So if we wanted to change our font size or any of the font weight or even font family, we could do that here. We also can change our text-based fonts and our meta fonts. I'm going to come to my meta fonts and I will change these to be medium and make them a little bit thinner. And I'm going to reduce the font size down to 12 to make them a little bit smaller. In addition to that, you can control the padding and the margin on these various elements. Keep in mind that you are currently editing the post title area. Since there are a lot of different elements within WordPress, you can either click on the pencil icon if it exists and it'll take you to that area, or depending on what you have selected, this is going to change. If I'm done with this area, I will click the back button and then I can continue to edit this. So we are currently using the normal view. If I change to full width, it doesn't affect this top section, but it does make my text appear full width. Or we could choose narrow, which makes the whole thing appear in a little more of a narrow fashion. I actually kind of like this better. This will make the quality of my image look a little bit better, so I think I will stick with narrow for now. You have container styles. I'm using the default. We have unboxed, which you can see just gets rid of this box down here. And then we have boxed, which is similar to the default. You can choose whichever style you prefer. I will go with the unboxed style for my single post pages. Next, we have the sidebar layout. So currently I'm using the default and there is no sidebar. This also is the no sidebar, which happens to be the default. Then we can choose to have the sidebar appear on the left or on the right. Now, depending on the style that you're using, the sidebar may or may not show up. So in this narrow view, I don't see my sidebar. If I switch to the normal view, then the sidebar is going to display. So if you do want the sidebar to show up, you would need to use the normal view rather than full width or narrow. In this particular theme, normal is the only view that is by default going to support this sidebar. On second thought, I think I will use the normal view because I want to teach you about the sidebar and how we can make modifications to this. It is possible that you click on the little pencil icons right here and you can edit these widgets, but we are going to look more in depth into augmenting the widgets in our next video. So we will just keep this as it is for right now and we'll come back and revisit this. You can also set the content width and you can plug in a custom size or just use the default. I will stick with default. And the next option we have is to turn on related posts. By default, this is off for me. If I turn this on, it is going to make a related post section. So this is going to take sections that have similar categories and it's going to show them. If you want to modify how the related posts are displayed, you can click this little arrow right here and it will take you into the related post area. You can do things like controlling the alignment of the text, as well as the number of posts that you want to display, how you want those posts to be aligned. whether you want the featured image to display or not, and you can control the size of the featured image here. You can also control the title and post metadata. I'm going to use the I-beam as I am using that above, and I want to stay consistent. In addition, you can choose what metadata you want to display as well as the order. So I do not want to show the comments. I do not want to show the categories, but I do want to show my date, and I want the date to appear before the author name. So I'm going to rearrange these so they display in the order that I want. In addition, you can turn on the Enable Post Excerpt, which will show an excerpt of the post. I will leave this off. And then you have options for the section placement. By default, it will appear underneath your blog post. If you click Contained, it's going to appear at the bottom of the blog post. And then Separated is going to separate these so that they're at the very bottom of the page. I will leave this choice at Contained as I like them to appear here. If you want to edit the design of these elements, you can either click Design, or you could click the pencil icon and then click Design. The section title is this text that says Related Posts. Let's change this to our green color. The section background is where you can augment the background of this area. So if we wanted this to be white or some other color, we could do that, but I'm kind of liking this lighter gray, so I will leave that as is. Content colors is going to control the color of the content within here. You can control your text color. Let's change our text color to green just because we can. And for hover, I'm going to choose that my links are red. You can change the post title font, and here's where we can edit the meta font. I am going to reduce the font size of these elements down to 12 to make them a little bit smaller, and I will reduce the line height so that I can tighten these up. And let's actually change the size of the post font as well. So I'm going to make this be normal, and I will reduce the font size down to 16. In addition, you can add a border and then control the spacing of these elements. I'll click the back button to go back to my single post area. The next area that we have here is our comments section, and our comments section is down below. I am going to go ahead and leave my comments on, but I will open this up so that I can control how my comments are displayed. We can have them display as being contained, which puts them within the post. If we had a background color here, this would be more apparent. We can also keep them separated, which keeps them full width at the bottom, but I will leave these as narrow. And then we'll go to the design so we can edit this area. I'm going to add a border, and I will unlink this, and I'm just going to add a border on the top. I'll change the color of the border to be a medium gray, and I don't need a border radius since I just have the border on the top of this area. Let's also augment our padding. For top, I'm going to change this to 1 to snug this up a little bit more. And let's change bottom to 1 as well. And I'll change my margin to 3 just to add a little bit of additional space. All right, that is looking pretty good. I'll go back to General and hit the back button again. And those are the settings that you can control in the free version of Astra. If you have the Pro version, you obviously have some additional options that you can alter. It also is worth mentioning that you'll probably want to view your single post page at the mid-size screen and make any relevant changes, and our small size screen. I think that this looks okay, so I am just going to go back to the full size screen. I'll hit publish, and now let's check this in the front end portion of our website. If we click refresh, the changes that we've specified are going to display on our single post page. And if I go to any of my posts, so we'll use our related posts to do this, you can see that those edits are going to be consistent throughout our website. It's worth taking time to augment your single post page so that you can ensure that this is going to match the design of the rest of your website.